Peacock Herl is great stuff. It's been popular with fly tyers for just forever, it seems like. I mean, generations, that's for sure. And it's really the first natural material we discovered that just was shiny, just had this sparkle to it, this really quiet, subtle sparkle. It's beautiful, and fish love it. So lots of flies have peacock herl, and I'm going to show you a way to. Part of the problem with peacock herl is that it's just plain fragile. These are the tips, which is the most fragile part, but I mean, it just doesn't take anything to break peacock herl off. It just comes right off. You know, you don't even have to try. So you can imagine if you just wrap this up the shank, how many fish it would last through. And the answer is practically zero. I mean, it would start falling apart on the casting. But if you reinforce peacock, it'll last a long time. So here's the fastest way I know of, and a very good way. First of all, I've got not a really fine thread, but not too heavy. And I'll bind on the peacock by the butts. And then just spiral the thread back. And let's say that this section right here is what I'm going to cover with peacock. Now, it could be the body of a nymph, or it could be the thorax, or it could be both for that matter. You know, peacock's using streamers and even some dry flies. So I take all the peacock and I simply wind it down the shank. So I'm not going forward, I'm going back with it. And when I get to my thread, and I've created a nice full sparkling peacock body, I bring the thread up over the peacock, take a turn, maybe one more, and here's actually before that, or even now is fine. With your thread, especially if you have a kind of thread that tends to splay out, tends to spread, and this tends not to. This is unithread, but I like to give the bobbin a spin, and that gathers up the thread and makes it very narrow, so that when I wind forward like this through the peacock, now watch the peacock and see how little it changes. It'll change a little bit as the thread goes through it, but not a lot. Well, I didn't like that. Just a little bit. It doesn't have much effect on it. But what's happening here, if you stop and think about it, is the peacock was spiraled back one way, and then thread now is going forward, so it's spiraling the other way, and we have the thread repeatedly crossing the peacock herl and toughening it. And you can put as many turns as you want, but if you get them too close together in too many turns, you'll start binding down too much of the peacock and it won't look very good. But as you can see, there wasn't much effect there. It's still full and thick and plush, and but much tougher. If you didn't do that, this body would last, you'd be lucky to get through a fish. You'd be real lucky. But with this method, the peacock is just so much tougher. I mean, the thread's going to have to break for the peacock to break. So I trim off the tips, and there's the peacock body, tough as nails. That is a fast, very simple way to reinforce fragile peacock. You know, it works.
Nice fish.